Krishna Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So, reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, text number 37. This chapter is entitled Karma Yoga. That I need one as well. Yes, I need one as well.
Sorry.
First time?
Yeah.
Oh.
Thank you for singing,
Oh.
uplifting.
Where are you from?
St. Helens.
St. Helens.
Yeah, you know it.
I used to, yeah, I've been there many times.
I always wonder why people go there if
Yeah.
they're not from there.
It's lovely. My godmother lives there.
It's to watch rugby, isn't it? They're good rugby team.
That's it, yeah, if you're into rugby then.
Very beautiful person. My godmother.
Yeah, some good people do come up there. There's not much happening.
Anyway, no. Okay, so what's your expectations tonight?
To not have any.
You don't have any?
No,
Oh, you
no
can't-
expectation.
You won't be disappointed
It's
then.
a higher love. I tried to channel that energy always. I just came with an open mind. Didn't really know what to expect. And
Oh, you've followed other yoga paths, have you?
yeah,
You've delved into things like, spiritual things and
yeah,
alternative things.
yeah. I've read a lot
Yeah.
about consciousness and I discovered yoga around 5 years ago.
You read what?
I discovered yoga
Oh,
around 5 years ago.
okay. What kind?
Vinyasana, yin.
What was that?
Vinyasana yoga
Vinyasa.
yin yoga.
Yeah, okay. So we're doing karma yoga tonight. Okay.
Do you actually do yoga?
No, this is explanation
Okay.
of karma yoga.
This is back to you.
So, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Shri Bhagavan.
Sri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Shri Bhagavan Vacha.
Kama Esha Kroda Esha. Raja Guna Samudbhavaha. Mahashana Mahapapma. Vidyinam Ihavelinam. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Shri Bhagavan Vacha.
Kama Esha Kroda Esha.
Kama Esha Krodesha.
Raja Guna Samudbhavaha.
Raja Guna Samudbhavaha.
Mahashana Mahapapma.
Mahashano Mahapatma.
Vidyinam Ihavelinam.
Vidyane Vivekanam.
Sri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Shri Bhagavan Vacha.
Kama Esha Kroda Esha.
Kama Esha Krodesha.
Raja Guna Samudbhavaha.
Raja Guna Samudbhavaha.
Mahashana Mahapapma.
Mahashano Mahapatma.
Vidyinam Ihavelinam.
Vidyane Vivekanam.
You want to try it?
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Shri Bhagavan Vacha.
Kamesho Krudesho.
Kama Esha Krodesha.
Rajaguna Samudbhava.
Raja Guna Samudbhavaha.
Mahasana Mahapapna.
Mahashano Mahapatma.
Vidyenam
Bhagavan Uvacha
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
Kama Esha Krodesha
Kama Esha Krodesha
Rajaguna Samubhavaha
Rajaguna Samubhavaha
Mahasano Mahapapma
Mahasano Mahapapma
Vijena Mehevarinam
Vidyanam
Does any ladies want to?
Try. No, I'm trying.
Without the melody, perhaps.
Yeah, yeah.
Sri Bhagavan Uvache.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
Kama Esha, Krodha Esha,
Kama Esha Krodesha
Rajaguna Samabhuvam,
Rajaguna Samubhava
Mahasano Mahapapma,
Mahasano Mahapapma
Vijayanam Iha Varinam.
Vijayanam Mevenam.
Good try, Jane.
Sri Bhagavan Uvacha
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
Kama Esha Krudesha
Kama Esha Krodesha
Rajoguna Samudbhava
Rajaguna Samubhava
Mahasano Mahapatma
Mahasano Mahapapma
Vidyanam Vihavernam
Vijayanam Mevenam.
You want to try?
Maybe next time.
Yes, okay. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
The personality of Godhead said.
The personality of Godhead says
Kamaha,
Kamaha
lust.
Lust
Eshaha,
Eshaha
this.
This
Krodaha,
Krodhaha
wrath.
Wrath
Eshaha,
Eshaha
this.
This
Rajaha, guna,
Rajaha Guna
the mode of passion.
The mode of passion
Samudbhavaha,
Samubhavaha
born of.
Born of
Mahashana,
Mahashana
all devouring.
All devouring
Mahapapma,
Mahapapma
greatly sinful.
Greatly sinful
Vidhi,
Vidhi
no.
No
Enam,
Enam
this.
This
Iha,
Iha
in the material world.
In the material world
Vairinam,
Vairinam
greatest enemy.
Greatest enemy.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, it is lust only, Arjuna, which is born of contact with the material mode of passion and later transformed into wrath, and which is the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world. In response, please, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said,
The Supreme Personality of Godhead says,
it is lust only, Arjuna,
it is lust only, Arjuna,
which is born of contact with the material mode of passion
which is born of contact with the material mode of passion,
and later transformed into wrath,
later transformed into wrath,
and which is the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world.
and which is all devouring sinful enemy of this world.
Purport. When a living entity comes in contact with the material creation, his eternal love for Krishna is transformed into lust in association with the mode of passion. Or in other words, the sense of love of God becomes transformed into lust, as milk in contact with sour tamarind is transformed into yogurt. Then again, when lust is unsatisfied, it turns into wrath. Wrath is transformed into illusion, and illusion continues the material existence. Therefore, lust is the greatest enemy of the living entity, and it is lust only which induces the pure living entity to remain entangled in the material world. Wrath is the manifestation of the mode of ignorance. These modes exhibit themselves as wrath and other corollaries. If therefore the mode of passion, instead of being degraded into the mode of ignorance, is elevated to the mode of goodness by the prescribed method of living and acting, then one can be saved from the degradation of wrath by spiritual attachment. The Supreme Personality of Godhead expanded himself into many for his ever-increasing spiritual bliss, and the living entities are parts and parcels of his spiritual bliss. They also have partial independence, but by misuse of their independence, when the service attitude is transformed into the propensity for sense enjoyment, they become under the sway of lust. This material creation is created by the Lord to give facility to the conditioned souls to fulfill their lustful propensities, and when completely baffled by prolonged lustful activities, the living entity begins to inquire about their real position. This inquiry is the beginning of Vedanta Sutras, wherein it is said, Atato Brahma Jigyasa. One should inquire into the Supreme, and the Supreme is defined in Srimad Bhagavatam as Janmad Yasya Yataha Anvayat Itarates Cha, or the origin of everything is the Supreme Brahman. Therefore, the origin of lust is also in the Supreme. If therefore lust is transformed into love for the Supreme, or transformed into Krishna consciousness, or in other words, desiring everything for Krishna, then both lust and wrath can be spiritualized. Hanuman, a great servitor of the Lord Ram, exhibited his wrath by burning the golden city of Ravan, but by doing so he became the greatest devotee of the Lord. Here also in Bhagavad Gita, Lord induces Arjuna to change his wrath upon his enemies for the satisfaction of the Lord. Therefore lust and wrath, when they are employed in Krishna consciousness, become our friends instead of our enemies. Om Gyanti Mirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tiyane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Charane Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Asvacha Rishatani. So we're going through a book called the Bhagavad Gita, and it's quite a chunk for you to, swallow. You've just walked in, and we're in the middle of it, and we're talking about, it's difficult to, unless you've had some experience with Bhagavad Gita, it may be a little bit much.
She's reading
started
it.
reading it.
Have you read it? Oh.
Yeah, I've picked it up many times over the years and read little bits.
Ah.
But I've decided I'm going to read the whole thing.
Right. Have you been before?
I've met Hare Krishna's, Hare Krishna followers at the summer solstice.
That way?
The summer solstice.
Oh, right. Will you give the food out?
Yeah, and they chant all night, and it's really uplifting.
Okay, so you know a little bit, that's good.
A little bit. Yeah.
I may know a lot. So okay, I'll just go into the verse then. I was going to give a preliminary, but you're talking about yoga. Yoga means to link, actually. Like when you yoke two bulls together, or two animals, to pull something. That's the yoke. It's a linking process between the two. So yoga is also a linking process, and yoga ultimately is meant to link our consciousness, link our life to the origin of all life, Krishna, because that's our natural proclivity. And what it's saying in this particular verse is what in the previous verse, Arjuna, Krishna's eternal devotee, is asking Krishna, why is it that people can't do it? He says, Arjuna says, descendant of Vishnu, that means Krishna, by what is one impelled to sinful acts, even unwillingly, as if engaged by force? So Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead according to Bhagavad Gita. So if we just accept that for the purpose of this verse, at least we can understand the import. Has anybody had that experience that, sometimes we know what we should do but we don't? For some reason we just can't stop ourselves. Yeah? Yeah, so this is what it is, lust. And lust is not just a sexual thing, which is understood by most people. When you say lust, you think about, the interaction of man and woman and the very strong attraction. But what lust really means, it means, like this verse is saying, that we're naturally very, very inclined to serve God. We're very attracted to God. It's not something we have to, just like a man and woman are attracted together. It's natural. So our natural attraction is originally, that same power of attraction is also there when we're in a relationship with Krishna. But this is stopping us. This attraction to this material concept of life. And what do we call material? We call material when we engage things, when we try to utilize things directly for our pleasure, or things related to us. So therefore, we forget the real process. Just like if you go in a rich man's garden and you start eating all the plums and apples and everything, it's not the right thing to do, is it? You should at least ask permission. So it's like that. This material world is actually the whole garden of the Supreme Lord. And therefore we should understand that, we should reciprocate what Krishna's given in a way that he's pleased. And it's described that the best way is to, first of all, offer it to Krishna. And then a relationship develops. We'll learn that later on in the Srimad, and that becomes a spiritual activity. That's the difference. Material and spiritual. Material means I, me and mine, everything for mine and my associates' pleasure. Spiritual means everything for Krishna's pleasure. But we should understand that when we think like that, it's not that we don't get pleasure. People think, oh, I don't know about that. But it's described later that by satisfying the source of creation, satisfying the owner, then we actually become satisfied. Just like if we water the root of a tree or a plant, what happens to the plant? Does it die? No, it's nourished. But if we water the leaves, what will happen? It'll die, won't it? Or it will not be very nourished. So similarly, we are like the leaves and branches or small particles of the whole Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's the root. He's a person. And from that root, everything is coming. And so if we satisfy the root, then we'll be satisfied. If we water the root. Yeah? If we feed the stomach, then what happens to the rest of the body? It becomes nourished. Doesn't it? It becomes nourished, it will become satisfied. But what happens if we, there's a process of eating, isn't there? You know what I mean? What do? You put it in your mouth, and you chew it, and you swallow it. So that's it. What would happen if you put it in your eye? You know what I mean? You just become blind, don't you? What happens if you put it in your ear? You become deaf. So, you stick it up your nose, It's not very... I mean, you might be able to do it through your nose eventually, but it won't be very... It sounds stupid, doesn't it? But that's what people are doing. they're trying to nourish themselves in the wrong process. So there's a process, and this is a process of Bhakti Yoga. So all yogas are meant to come to understand Krishna. That's the goal, to link with God. And this is the most expedient way, because how many people in Manchester and St Helens can sit down for a few hours and meditate without disturbance? Nobody. There's very few people.
They've got
And-
TVs.
Eh?
They've got TVs.
But still concentrated on
That distract. You've got a TV, so
And so this yoga is a practical yoga for us. We're not natural yogis, are we? We're anything but natural yogis. It's what we call bogies. What is it? Bogies, yogis, and what is it?
Gnanis.
Eh?
Gnani.
No, there's yogis. Rogi, that's it. Well done. A yogi is one who's, on the path of linking with the Supreme. A bogi is one who is using things in the wrong way. And a rogi is one who becomes, he puts too much, food in his ear or something like that. He becomes like diseased. You know what I mean? Somebody who misuses this world so much that he becomes mad. That's a yogi, becomes diseased. Do you know anybody like that?
no, listen to
That's what happens when we try to enjoy something which is not enjoyable. Eventually we become, completely, what's the word? Frustrated. When you're frustrated, you lose your marbles, don't you? You become hungry. You lose your ability to reason. And so this is what's happening. Yeah, so in this age, we were talking about yoga. So in this age, this yoga process is recommended. Karma yoga. Learn how to, have you got a particular occupation at the moment?
yeah.
Yeah, the mic's dropping to sleep as well.
For the sake of the internet.
Are you asking me?
Anybody, but you in particular. Yeah.
I'm self-employed at the moment, and I do different marketing, promotional campaigns.
So that's your work.
It's a temporary.
Yeah, but it's still what you're doing, isn't it, at the moment?
Yeah.
So, karma means to work. And so we can link that with devotional service. So whatever anybody's doing in this world, we can learn to do it to please God. That's the process. So it's a practical thing. We don't have to, take time off to meditate. The meditation will be in our work. And this person is particularly dealing with the thing that Arjuna asked in the previous verse. What's stopping us from, what's getting in the way? And it's this attraction, this natural. Every living entity has got a desire, and so that natural desire is to desire to reciprocate and serve God, and Krishna reciprocates and serves us. God serves his devotee. It's not a one-way thing, and that's a perfect situation. So it becomes lust. That love, that's love. In this material world, when we try to, satisfy ourselves, it's called lust. And this attraction becomes, by practice, this attraction becomes so strong that it doesn't, we become so attracted to doing that we lose our attraction for the real thing. That's what's happening. And so the whole process to reverse it. It's not that we stop doing things, but we learn how to. It's called therapeutical. Have we got any doctors in here or any? Does anybody know what therapy is? You do that kind of thing?
Yes, I have done. I'm interested in that kind of thing, in healing.
What's therapy then? What's the definition of therapy?
Well, because you've got therapy for the mind as well as you've got therapy for the body.
Yeah, so therapy means that, you know, like what about...
It's kind of like remedying an ill.
Yeah. Well, so the thing is, you know, first we'll deal with the body, right? That what happens if you break your arm? Or if you break your leg? What do?
Somebody says
They
it.
immobilise it, don't they? They put it in a pot. You know, you're holding about with crutches for 3 months or whatever.
You don't want to do that.
And but then, you know, eventually it knits together, the bones knit, is that right? And what they do, they take the pot off, and what do they tell you to do?
Take it easy. Be careful.
Eh? You have to start,
Oh yes.
You have to start walking
Exercise,
on
some
it.
exercise, bit of gentle exercise, I suppose.
gentle exercise, that's called therapy. We have to start walking on it little by little, and so that the use comes by. So when we use things and we link them to Krishna, that's a therapeutical process which cures us from the disease of being selfish or just wanting things for ourselves in this world. So that's a simple process, how to do that. And Bhagavad Gita is telling us. You know, so like what we eat, do we have to stop eating? You know, eating for ourselves is a material thing. You know, so we can't stop eating. We have to learn how to do it. So it's recommended that before we eat, we say a prayer to God and offer it. And it says that if it's offered and cooked the way Krishna prescribes, then he accepts it. He actually relishes the food through the prayer of his devotee. Krishna's omniscient. Omniscient means, and omnipotent means that he can actually see through his ears, smell through his eyes. So eat through his ears as well. So he hears the prayers and he relishes the food. You know, if somebody offered a plate of prashadam to us, there'd be none left, would there? Whoever offered it, they'd be disappointed. Well, Krishna's not like that. So don't worry. So this is one thing we can do. Our work, you know, anyway, we're not going to the details, but that's a process of linking everything. And then we overcome this lust, this very strong attachment. And the king of all lust in this world is the attraction between male and female. That's the strongest attachment, and what people generally term as lust. So actually this process is so powerful that it can also overcome that attachment. One can be freed from that disturbing, it's a disturbing attraction. You know, we become peaceful. So this is what is being offered. Let's just go through the purport. This is a general description. Yeah, if you try to enjoy something in this world, what two things happen? What happens? What can happen? From experience, just think about what happens. Are you ever satisfied? You know, even my mother used to say about me, he's never satisfied. You know, it don't matter what you're getting. Eh? But
when our mothers say things to us, they quite often are saying the things that their mothers or fathers said to them.
who is? Who's saying that?
when one's mother says things to one, she's quite often saying things that she heard when she was a child or when she was growing up and that were passed on from the previous generation. So all observations that are thrown at us in that way are not necessarily true.
Yeah, I mean, anyway, she was saying it to me because she meant it. It was, you know. So, you know, people are not satisfied. So they want more. And that's called greed. They become greedy for more and more. And what's the other thing that can happen if we don't get satisfied? Frustrated, and then what? Angry. We become angry. So that's the two things that happen. People become frustrated and angry, or they become greedy. And then that greed eventually, that's frustrating, they become angry. So, you know, lust means suffering. It means we just become angry, disturbed. So this is the effect in the material world. The more you get, the more you want. And, you know, eventually you just actually become bewildered. You know, we read in the paper, don't we, about who's the most famous and handsome man in the world now? Who's the big film star? Ratchet.
Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt.
Ben,
And who's the most vivacious woman in the world?
I'll vote for Ben.
You know, we see in the paper, you know, two big film stars. You know, they're the most famous people in the world. They've got more money than anybody because they're so famous. And, you know, they're both like what everybody would like to be. And you think, wow, they're so fortunate. You know, they're there smiling. And then, you know, you pick the paper up a few months later and what's happened?
They've broken up.
Grown up, why? You got all the formula. What's happened?
Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton, very stormy.
Oh, that was.
I know it's a long
Eons
time ago,
ago.
but it's a perfect example of what you're talking about.
Yeah, it is, yeah. So the thing is that if you've got all the ingredients for success and it doesn't work, you know, they're still unhappy, it means that maybe we shouldn't go that way. And so the Bhagavad Gita is telling us that the way to go is to reduce things, reduce necessities. You know, we need things in this world. We don't have to, you know, just stupid things like giving up everything, but we learn how to use things for what they're needed for and not overdo it. And actually it's impossible to do that unless you've got something else to take its place, isn't it? Because we never stop desiring. So Bhagavad Gita is telling us a therapy of turning that lust back into love for God. This is a process of Krishna consciousness. We learn how to link everything, and then actually we start to get what we want. We start to feel peace. When we feel peace, we feel happy. It says peace in society is for the want of a goal, an ultimate goal. You know, people are working out like anything for temporary goals, aren't they? In a businessman, he wants to achieve, you know, he wants to achieve 100 grand profit. And when he gets it, he'll think, he'll go for 500 grand. Then he'll go for, you know, he'll go for 1 million. And then, you know, eventually he's up in the billions, you know, with all the tycoons, and he's still not satisfied. How did I get onto that? I got diverted a bit there. We were talking about... Yes. So the thing is not to actually... It's like, it's described in Bhagavad Gita later on. You know, when you put fuel on a fire, does it put it out? So, you know, so it's like, you know, the fire of lust, when you give it more, it gets bigger. I'm sorry, folks. You're barking on the wrong tree. When you take fuel off the fire, it goes out. The lust dies away. When we stop trying to enjoy things unnecessarily, And then when we become, good at taking fuel off the fire, then we can start putting it back on, because we're using it, for Krishna's pleasure. There's nothing to stop us owning everything if we know how to use it. If we use it properly, then we can be, own anything. So this is the difference between lust and love. Anything else it says here before we finish?
May I say something, Maharaj?
Hey?
May I say something?
You can, yeah.
Mike?
So when you're mentioning about lust, when people try to satisfy this lust, as you say, they become more angry and frustrated because it doesn't satisfy them.
Because it's what?
It doesn't satisfy them, the lust, whatever they obtain, the sensual gratification.
Yeah.
So they pursue it more and more and get more angry and more angry.
Squeeze it more.
Yeah. They get more angry and more desirous. And this is why people commit very sinister and sinful acts, because they go from the good side of it. I've seen a very beautiful picture that summarizes it, of like the heaven side of it and the hell. And when you try to satisfy your senses as much as possible and try to get the nectar out of things that you can't, try and get pleasure out of things that is only very temporary and just unsatisfying, then you go deeper and deeper and start committing very sinful and bad things to try to satisfy that, because you think that's going to satisfy you, and you keep going deeper, and it just gets you worse and worse into that material entanglement.
Yeah, that's right. That's the process. Yeah, so you can reverse that process and become more deeper involved in the relationship with God, and then it becomes actually the opposite. Instead of more degraded, we become more elevated. All the good qualities start to manifest. This is what it's saying. Okay.
What Ben's saying sounds like people who, I do think I know someone who I could see in that kind of category a bit, where to me that describes someone who's like 100%, maybe you could use percentages, 100% material, or 95 or to 100% material. And maybe that is the case, that, there are many people who are like that. I think that is a sad thing in the world, that there are some people who are oblivious to spirituality at all. I really see that, because I feel like I've always been in the spiritual camp, and tried to live from that position, and it's not easy to do that, I don't think. But then there must be also, though, it occurs to me, which is why I've just picked up the mic or whatever, is but there'll be people, maybe the ideal is to be 50-50, that we want we want some balance.
50-50 what?
Because we're in a material world, or we're in the material, but we come from the spiritual. So, like, we want to be aware of both.
No talking.
And so the bad thing, or the really bad thing, is if you're like 80 or 90 or 100% material and you've got no awareness at all of the spiritual. But if you've got 50% awareness of spiritual, then you're beginning to get more real.
The thing is, one thing is that, we don't have to work out too much about as percentages. It don't matter where we're at. If we understand the process and we start practicing it, then, what will happen is gradually we'll become less and less attracted, less and less, in the mood of wanting to enjoy things. We'll become more. First thing that happens, we lose a lot of attraction to most nonsense things. It's just not interesting anymore. Why? Because Krishna's giving us a higher taste. Because we're actually performing yoga, we're asking Krishna by this process of yoga, chanting His holy name, if we're actually sincerely chanting, He'll take it all away if we're sincere. It's like that. But it's not easy to do that because we're conditioned and it takes time. And so this yoga is the process. We don't have to worry about too much, whether it's, keep measuring whether we're 50% or, 75%. We'll start to appreciate that we're making progress and we're less attracted just by following this process of yoga, of hearing and chanting about Krishna. It says, what's that verse now? There's a verse in the second canto, in the 8th chapter. It says that it's like autumn rains. Does anybody know what autumn rains do? I know that you get wet, I know that. But autumn rains means in India, it's applicable to places where they have monsoons. In India, from June, end of June to end of August, beginning of September, they have a monsoon period. And, it puts down plenty of rain. And so what happens is everything becomes flooded. And when things become flooded, all the water becomes turbulent. And it becomes dirty because it's washing all the dirt from the floor. Yeah? So that's like the heart at the moment. It's dirty. But what happens in the autumnal rains, that's in September, it's light rain. So the sediment starts to settle and the water and then the autumn rains keep the water at a certain level and it just washes away clear. So it says this chanting process is like autumn rains upon the heart. It's here in Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, it's like autumn rains upon the heart. It gradually purifies. And then, our natural... What does it mean to purify? It means the heart is covered. Nityasiddha Krishna Premi Sadat Kabonaya. Sarvanadi Sudhichati Karyodaya. That we don't have to search anywhere for that relationship. It's already there. It's like it's covered. We can't see it at the moment. And when we start hearing and chanting about Krishna, it gradually purifies that covering, and that's this lust. It becomes purified away, and then we can understand that relationship is manifested. So we'll feel it starting to manifest as the coatings start to come off. So it's a very what's the word? Powerful process. And I want to give everybody a challenge tonight. Are you into challenges? Everybody's sitting on the edge of the chairs now. Don't miss next week's episode. So wherever you're at, some of you may be chanting, some of you are not chanting. Does everybody know how to chant the Hare Krishna mantra? No? Okay, so if you're interested, I'll show you after. And so what we do, all yoga, it's regulated, isn't it? You perform I don't know how they do it with Ashtanga yoga or the yoga you were talking about. But, you perform it on a regulated basis. It's not like, you perform it for one day and then you miss out a month and come back and try again. It just don't work. It has to be regular. So the chanting is regular. Every day we chant a fixed number of times. And then over a period we'll feel some difference. So I want everybody, whatever you're doing now, if it's 1 round, do 2. If it's no rounds, do 1 at least. If it's 10 rounds, do 12. Just increase the rounds for, substantially for at least a week. Try for a week. Then next Friday, just see if you've noticed any difference in the way you see things. We see through this conditioning this material consciousness. And when the consciousness is pure, we see through our purified consciousness, and we see completely different. The things that we're attracted to no longer become attracted. The things that we thought we weren't attracted to, we actually become attracted to. And we get pleasure from them. I remember I was reading about... Anyway, well, we'll not go into that. Sorry? Yeah. No, it's not really connected to this class, so it won't really gel. I will say, actually. Okay. So it's like, there's different modes of nature. You see, I have to get into the modes of nature. But anyway, when we're in conditioned life, certain things, when I first started reading Bhagavad Gita, it was talking about, there's one section that talks about the likes and dislikes of people in various situations in this world. One who's completely conditioned by it, one who's a little bit free, one who's completely free. Different levels of working, one in ignorance, don't care about anything, one in passion who wants to enjoy it to its max, another one who's in goodness, who sees things for what they are. And tells you the peculiarities of this more. In ignorance, it means everything they do is actually wrong. It doesn't do good for them or anybody else. And I thought, no, I don't think that's me. So I'm more the passion. They work as hard as they can, they get as much as they can, and they try and enjoy as much as they can. I thought, that's life. Anybody relate to that? This is life. And I thought, I wonder what this mode of goodness is about. He said, I thought, wow, mode of goodness. It's boring. Completely boring. You don't do anything. But then when I started practicing the process, the mode of passion became distasteful. I weren't interested in it, and I became attracted to the mode of goodness. I thought, this is what I want to do. This is life. So this is what I'm saying. When you chant, there'll be a little bit more, that tendency will be there to see things in a different way. So, is everybody up for it? That was all weak, yes, wasn't it? Is everybody up for it? Yes! Are you sure? Yes! All right. Bit better. So I'll show you about the chanting if you don't know. So it's, I have to trust that whatever you're doing now, you do a little bit more, right? And then this is Bhakti Vinod Thakur, one of our acharyas, one of our teachers. He said every 2 weeks, Ekadashi, we should look back and see how much progress have we made. We should be able to assess it. Okay, any questions, comments before we wrap up?
I'm just going to say one more thing.
Yeah.
What we were talking about in terms of lust and things like that, it's through misidentification with the body. So when we believe that we are the senses, then automatically we are going to try to satisfy them and nourish them, because we believe that we're this thing that's seeking this satisfaction. So once we identify with our true self, which is the soul, and realise that we're part of but not of this world, then it makes the whole process a lot easier, because you realise you're not fighting against something which is against your will as such. It's just against your material conditioning and entanglement. So it makes it a much more enjoyable process.
Yeah, we're not your body. That's another lesson, that one.
Yeah, it connects.
Yeah.
It connects. I think it's a good explanation.
Anyway, we can talk about it afterwards. We can all talk. We can take some prasadam and we can discuss. Is that okay? Okay. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Gaura Prema. What happens now?
don't know, but we just shifted the monthly Mangalarti to the first Saturday of the month. I think you know that, yeah? No, it will be next Saturday, I think so. Yeah. So we used to do it like a third Saturday of the month. Now we're doing it the first Saturday of the month. Next week, yeah. Next Saturday.
Will it be on the Sunday as well? Because I missed the Sunday. I didn't realise.
No, Mangalarti is on Saturday.
Yeah.
But there will be just a standard program on Sunday.
Okay, I thought that possibly Guru Maharaj said something about Sunday morning. Siri, doing some work for you.
Mahaprasade Govinde Nama Brahmani Vaishnave Svalpa Punyavatam Rajan Visvaso Naiva Jayate Sarirara Vidyaja Shodindriya Tabika Jibifel Visya Sagare Dharmaja Jivati Lobamor Sudurmati Tegatakathina Samsari Krishna Baro Doyamoy Kuri Bari Shibaje Svaprasadana Dirabai Seyanamrita Pau Radha Krishna Guna Gau Premade Koshe Tanya Nitai Jaini Mai Jaini Tai Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mahaprasade ki